Good morning, everyone. So today we delve into a subject that captured the attention of both traditional finance and growing world of cryptocurrency. Ripple. Its journey has been nothing short of intriguing, navigating the complexity of early adoption and the dynamic intersection between conventional financial frameworks and the digital realm. With recent victories, such as the landmark decision against the SEC, Ripple stands at a pivotal juncture in its trajectory. Joining us is Reece Merrick, the Managing Director for the Middle East and Africa region at Ripple. With his expertise and insight, we aim to shed the light on Ripple trajectory and the evolving landscape it operates in. Hello, Reece.
Hey, Waleed. Great to be speaking with you here. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's unfortunate we can meet face to face, especially given your presence in Dubai now. So, firstly, Reece, would you agree with me that Ripple finds itself straddling two distinct worlds, the traditional financial establishment and the realm of digital assets?
Absolutely. I think if you look back, Ripple have been in the market and in existence for 12 years now, and really kind of, our aim and focus has always been how we can bridge traditional finance and decentralized finance. And, typically we started off by looking at, basically dealing with some of the inefficiencies around cross-border payments, and how blockchain and crypto, specifically XRP and XRP Ledger, could really, challenge and beat some of those pain points that we experience today when we're moving funds cross-border in the traditional methods.
Yeah. So, having been with Ripple for over 6 years now and leading the team in the Middle East and Africa, could you elaborate on the mandate of a Ripple managing director based in the UAE?
Absolutely. So, as you quite rightly stated, I've been at Ripple just over 6 years now. So a long time.
6 years and 2 months, actually.
There we go.
Your LinkedIn profile.
You've done your homework. So, essentially, we've seen a ton of change within the market there. A lot more adoption. I think from my perspective, my remit's very clear. It's to grow the presence of Ripple across the Middle East and Africa, to serve our customers in how they're making their cross-border payments, but also, whilst that was our initial focus, we have launched some additional crypto native services such as custody solutions, working with developers on the XRP Ledger, as well as, something that I'm sure we'll come on to. We've announced that we're going to be launching our stablecoin soon. Yeah. So from a regional perspective, kind of all of these play in terms of being able to grow the business from a regional standpoint.
Yeah. I recall, maybe I took a picture actually for it. I recall maybe 3 months back, I was passing by the IFC area, and it was a full takeover of the metro station Ripple advertisement. So I'm sure you've been behind this. So can we say now Ripple is a DIFC company, or are you considering Ripple under Vara or EDGM, or do you need this or you don't need this as a VASP?
So I think, and that would have been, just to show how important the region is. We held our annual flagship event, Swell, in Dubai last November. So, there was a huge splash. It was an incredible event. And actually, what the UAE has done very well is positioned itself as a major player at the future of finance. And really, I would say that stems from the pro-regulation in the region, right? Mm. So clearly, the DIFC and the DFSA have done some fantastic work in providing a clear framework of how, you can really utilize crypto assets in the region. Around the same time, the back end of November, the DFSA actually approved XRP as a digital asset that could be utilized by businesses within the DIFC regime. So, that's a huge step for us in just firstly providing that clarity on XRP in the region. What I would say is VARA, obviously a standalone regulator in the region, are doing, fantastic things as well. Ripple itself have been in the DIFC since 2020. We're very happy here. You know, we are quite keen from a license perspective to work with regulators to deem and acquire licenses where we require. So this is definitely something we're moving forward with. But I would say more to come on this space as it relates directly to the Middle East, Walid.
I'm happy to hear that about the IFC. This is not the perception that we have, that on terms of digital assets, we see a little bit the IFC kind of, they are keeping themselves away. And I can't agree with you that there's a lot of clarity on digital asset with the IFC, but if you say so, I'll take it. I'll take your words. So Reece, giving the surge of companies aspiring to be the SWIFT of the digital financial era. So what sets Ripple apart? Are we moving toward the future where multiple platforms coexist, each catering to specific bilateral cross-border channel or remittance businesses?
Look, I would say that, you know, as the industry evolves, there's definitely going to be more than one winner in the space. I think as we look at traditional methods of moving money cross-border, and you look at SWIFT specifically, you know, it's very
interesting for 50 years or something. I don't recall the date. One monopoly, one company managing the whole transmission of money, and no one challenged this. And now there's plenty of players trying to challenge or to be the SWIFT of the future.
Absolutely. Look, you know, I can send you an email, Walid, and in a couple of seconds, you're going to receive that in your inbox. If I tried sending my mum, you know, some money home in the UK from my bank here over the SWIFT network, it could get there tomorrow, it could get there next week. It might not get there at all. So totally agree with you on the concept of, you know, it's not been challenged, and there's certainly something that Ripple is trying to do. I think that we see this in a couple of ways, right? We see this from a need to remove the middlemen in transactions in cross-border flow. So cutting out correspondent banking, because it makes it very expensive. But also what individuals want is, if you're a worker in the Middle East and you're looking to send funds back to the Philippines, India, Pakistan, you don't want to be paying high fees. You don't need to be paying high fees. And actually, you can access local rails in those countries and make settlement in real time. So, you know, do I believe there'll be more than, more players like Ripple looking to kind of challenge that? Absolutely. I think stable coins also come into it as well. I think if you think about the global payment space, you know, I think 60 or 70% of payments are actually settled in US dollars, right? So if you think, if I'm trying to make a US dollar payment to someone in Africa, essentially that's going to go via the US and then back to Africa, which again is not very efficient. So stable coins are an interesting play as it relates to cross-border payments, because actually you can move a US dollar backed stable coin instantly to regions globally. And I think that will be, we'll continue to see that evolve.
Yeah, we're going to reach this whenever we talk about stablecoin. So how do you perceive the impact of central bank digital currency on Ripple's value proposition? Would you say that Ripple has fallen short in providing solution for central banks compared like competitor like Corda?
Yes. I mean, look, let's zoom out.
Don't say yes, I'll go to you.
No, but let's just take a step back in terms of CBDC projects, right? 96% of central banks globally have a project or pilot or some form of engagement in exploring a CBDC. How and when they are actually rolled out into production and in what form, I think is still yet to be seen. I think that Ripple have certainly made some inroads in working with central banks, exploring different types of use cases, whether it's wholesale, retail, maybe both, where it's pegged to a stable coin like the dollar, whether it's they're issuing their own and they're using our technology. I think we're still kind of working through of how that evolution of central bank digital currencies will play out.
Interesting. Yesterday night, I was reading an announcement from Namibia, I think, and they announced that instant payment protocol that is not blockchain related So using payment using even non-smartphones and so on and so forth. So somehow I feel like there's a lot of centralization of the effort of tech provider like Ripple or Coda or all other players in the space now into the really advanced world, the US, Europe, but we're missing a big part in Africa, and where there is a need for something like that, where the remittance business is essential, and the digital money is essential. So are we forgetting these areas like Africa, Southeast Asia?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think it's more of just the engagement in region and the willingness on the the receiving side. Remittances primarily were Ripple's focus and the pain point we wanted to solve for as it relates to payments, because ultimately, like you point out, it's the individuals who are on the receiving end of these receiving payments that are penalized the most with large fees and slow settlement. So absolutely, it's our priority to engage, but it will have to be continuation of willingness on the receiving side and receiving central bank to kind of be open to that, I would say.
Yeah. So with the stable coin market booming at 150 billion as you released, Ripple venture into this space is notable. Is this driven purely by commercial interest? As let's say a few days ago, Tether announced 4.5 billion profit in the first quarter, or it is integral to expanding Ripple ecosystem? And where does XRP fit into this equation?
Sure. So, I think it's, as we look at our evolution as a business, as I mentioned, we first started purely payments as it relates to the cross-border payments and I guess real-time settlement in individual currencies. We then looked at kind of the wider picture and certainly what was coming back from our customers, and we were getting demand from our partners is to settle in stable coins, right? So that's one thing. Customer demand often drives us to kind of look into this into the market. If you then look at the market itself, right, it sits at $150 billion, like you mentioned today. I think the growth over the next 4 to 5 years expected to get up to 2.83 trillion is what's kind of being forecast. So for us, it's a natural step for Ripple, being a compliant first, regulatory focused entity, to enter this space. How it relates directly to XRP is that the stable coin will be issued on the XRP ledger. And we see this as in our payments product. How can we utilize in certain markets XRP? How can we utilize the stable coin that we're going to issue by the end of the year? So essentially, it's complementary to kind of what our payment service is offering at the moment.
Yeah. So shifting focus a little bit, let's discuss Ripple recent ventures into custody business with acquisition like SCTC in the state and Metaco in Switzerland. How does this align with Ripple core objectives?
I think I'm going to show some history of being at Ripple now, but 6 years ago, I was based in London. When we used to have meetings with large FIs, right? If we mention the word digital assets or crypto, people used to get a bit shifty in their seats and look a bit nervous. Were they going to
stay away?
Yeah, were they going to call security to escort us off the building? Thankfully, that didn't happen. But what's interesting is our evolution in staying close with our large FI partners is that 18 months, 2 years ago, we're sitting back at the table with them. They're inviting us in and trying to understand how they can, have some form of offering within the digital asset space. And really what it kept coming down to is, tokenization of real world assets is one element, which I'll come on to shortly. But really, it's the actual custodying of digital assets where they were kind of hitting a blocker, right? So it was the natural step for Ripple, being very involved with FIs, working with them on the payment space to actually be able to layer on a crypto native service like custody in that offering. And I'd say
it is kind of centralizing the risk, Reece. The segregation between the custody and the infrastructure might be good opportunity as well for the future. Don't you think so?
Absolutely. I think from us, you know, it's clear that we believe that the institutional adoption is really what's going to drive the growth in really making and giving longevity to our not so new but relatively new in terms of growth industry. That's
Luxembourg, that one.
The
Luxembourg.
Exactly. So we acquired Metaco, great enterprise grade custody solution, working with top financial institutions, and from our perspective, it's been a win-win, both taking those customers forward, expanding the business, and being able to drive new business there.
So I wasn't planning to ask this question, but good you brought it in, the tokenization. So we had a round table on it was on the 18th of April. So around tokenization, it was interesting. So we had a couple of leaders from all over, including ADGM, and the discussion was what is still missing here. So with the experience you had with HSBC and being their custodian, what's still missing yet in the UAE to move forward for the tokenization of real world assets?
Look, I think not necessarily what's missing. I think there just needs to be some advancements in the infrastructure around how banks go to market, right? So, everyone that we've been engaging with, that we're speaking with, recognizes the opportunity. It's how do they implement, a crypto native technology into a legacy system, right? And I think that's where, when you're working with large FIs in any form of change, that's where time, it takes time to kind of overcome that. What I would say is, and it's interesting on just the growth of tokenization real world assets, I think it's something you may know this, but forecasted to reach like $10 trillion in market cap by 2030. So it's staggering what the opportunity is. And I think what we'll probably see is, a hockey stick growth once some of these larger FIs that are already doing start to come into market. I think it will domino effect with other banks kind of coming in there.
I agree. So last for me, despite triple partnerships such as with Bank of America, the legal battle with SEC persists. Could you provide an overview of the current status of the case? And do you foresee a potential settlement?
Look, firstly, I would start by saying, our initial victory of the SEC, last summer, which I'm sure you're aware and you reported on. So
absolutely. I was happy to hear it. Actually, it is the only win for us against SEC. So this is
absolutely. Look, XRP in and of itself is not a security. So that's the good news, right? And what it shows is that progress is worth fighting for. Our full response back to the SEC will be filed next month. And, from our perspective, we continue to trust.
Actually, you have to answer something today, I believe, right? 29, they had to write something, and in 4 days, you have to come back to them, maybe. Sorry for interruption.
No problem. I think ultimately what it comes down to is I think we continue to trust the court's approach and the remedies, that are going to be treated fairly. And from our side, we remain very confident that, any fines or penalties will ultimately, be assessed by the court, but will be managed comfortably from, our healthy balance sheet there.
Hopefully, all the best. Reece, thank you. This is all from my end, unless you have anything to add. It was a good overview on how Ripple is moving forward in terms of offering and services, as well as for the Middle East and UAE in specific.
No, Waleed, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.